Robbie here. Don't forget to join us for the Weekend Roundup live on Monday the 3rd of June at Tocker Social at the O2. And you can come along and try and cook us. But you ain't going to want to cook me, because I'm going to be cooking Abby, Matisse, Flex, and that AGT and his stats are getting it as well. You do not want to miss this. Come along, you can join the fun, you can play football with us, watch the England game, which is also going to be taking place on the night, and it's going to be massive. So get your tickets right now by clicking the link in the description. The tickets are selling fast, so don't waste no time. Join us for the Weekend Roundup live, Monday the 3rd of June at Tocker Social.
Welcome back to AFTV, everyone. We've got some news updates regarding Mikel Arteta's contract, which we hope will be signed soon, and more details around Arsenal's potential summer transfer plans, with one name in particular really coming to the forefront. But we'll discuss all that and more with my good friend Laurie. Welcome back, Laurie. Welcome back to you all. Firstly, Laurie, we're just going to start on the Arteta contract stuff, because that is apparently where Arsenal are starting. That first and foremost, they just want to get the Arteta contract sorted. We'll give you the exact news and what's been sort of said in the media. But with rumours of Pep Guardiola potentially leaving next summer, Klopp's just gone, I think it's sort of gone under the radar. We want to get this one tied down as well soon.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It makes sense to get the managerial position locked down. You start from the top and you work downwards. So, yeah, he's at the top of that particular pyramid, get that locked in, and then the rest should flow.
Yeah. So Gary Jacob from The Times, there were other reports that broke, I think, 24 hours prior about Arteta entering formal talks over a new contract. I think Sammy Mockbell might have been the one who tweeted about it or wrote about it. Gary Jacobs come in with this, that Arsenal want to tie down Arteta to a new long-term contract before accelerating their summer player recruitment plans. The club are targeting young players, and Benjamin Sesko is on their radar. So we'll talk about Sesko in a minute, because he has been really, really linked. I mean, more than any other player, that's the one we're hearing about the most.
That's certainly what I'm seeing.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll get to him. But interestingly, they want to get the Arteta thing sorted first. It's about, tying down the contract, and then we accelerate summer plans. Because while we're only, 2 weeks post-season, I'm anticipating a slow transfer window, and maybe all eyes at the moment are on getting the Arteta deal done first before we worry about incomings.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, like I said previously, you get the managerial position done, and then you work downwards from there. He's at the top of the hierarchy, as it were. And let's face it as well, in recent days, since the end of the season, there's been a lot of movers and shakers in the managerial positions, certainly more than players. So it makes sense to get that locked down, because there are jobs available and there is conjecture and speculation. So absolutely, it makes sense to get that position locked down, and then they can sort out the players after that.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think with Arteta, and actually, it sort of, for me, goes beyond the whole Arteta in-out debate, which, people are still wanting to have, and that's fine. But for me, it's about what's the point not tying him down, quite frankly. Besides the fact he absolutely deserves it and he's been brilliant, we've been in back-to-back title races, for me it's like, either way, you want to tie down the people you got, because then you worry about it in the future if there's ever a reason to think, well, is there a world without Mikel Arteta? I just think it's a no-brainer. Get this one done, get him tied down, whatever we think, and I know that I'm absolutely on board, and I know a lot of Arsenal fans are. I just think get it done, and then we can just move on to worrying about other things, because you don't want to get yourself in a situation where, look at Chelsea and Man United. This is why I bring it up. Chelsea and Man United. Chelsea finished 6th, but decided it wasn't for them, wanted to make a change. Man United won the FA Cup and are considering whether Erik ten Hag is the right guy for them. But when you look at the other candidates out there, the Chelsea having to sign Enzo Maresca, appoint Enzo Maresca, who might be very good, former Pep Guardiola assistant, so we benefited from that. Yeah. But, the list of names out there hasn't been great, to be honest. So it's just like, let's not find ourselves in a position where we have to worry about this, because who's to say that Barcelona, who keep changing managers, PSG, who keep changing managers, Man City, who he used to work for under Pep Guardiola, who's to say that these other big clubs don't come knocking on Arteta's door? I just think there's no point, risking it.
No, you're right. And let's face it, he has done enough on balance to, deserve a new contract. I'll be interested to see the length of the contract.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, we know the reports are that he's going to be made one of the highest earning
Yeah, I've seen
in the
that.
Premier League.
Yeah. But I'm also interested to see the length of the contract. And the reason why I say that is because following the end of the season, of course, we just missed out on the Premier League.
Yeah.
There was a lot of conjecture, a lot of talk. I remember going to that last game of the season. There was some heated debate going on amongst fans about where Arteta stands going forward. There were the vast majority, it has to be said, that said, listen, man, he's done a good job. Certainly, he's the man to carry us forward into next season. And there was another school of thought that was saying, look, hold on. Yes, we've progressed, but it's not necessarily success. And that there were people openly questioning whether he's the man to get it across the line, as it were. So, yeah, that was a debate that was being had, and I'm sure that was going on across the country. So let's be honest, if he is appointed, which you all expect him to do, let's be honest, he has done enough to get a new contract. Yeah, but next season is a massive season for him.
Yeah, absolutely. And, to try and help him in what is a massive season, signings could be key. There have been lots of updates. Let's start with the striker thing and Sesko, which I think is really interesting. John Cross coming in with this, saying that Arsenal are in the market for a new striker and that Sesko is top of their wanted list, but they're not expecting superstar signings this summer. They will, in fact, strengthen the squad. Now, there's been similar things that have been coming in from others saying that... of course, Gary Jacob, which we read, the club are targeting younger players and Sesko is on their radar. It seems like, on the first reports, we've been linked to João Neves and João Arteta as well. You wonder whether Arsenal are actually looking at, reports are saying that Arsenal are looking at perhaps younger players who have real quality, who can come in and really improve the squad, and maybe are ready for the first 11, but will certainly grow into that. It's an interesting approach. I'm not convinced it's the right way for us to add a load of teenagers or a load of young players, but that's not to say that ultimately you add quality, whether they're 19 or 32. You add players that can add quality now, and Benjamin Sesko, people who watch him regularly say he's raw, but my word, is he talented.
Yeah, I've seen that. I mean, I've done my own little bit of research on Sesko. I think he plays for RB Leipzig last season. He got 14 goals in the Bundesliga. He is highly thought of. He's young. He's only 20, I think.
Yeah.
Slovenian, so we'll see him up against England in the Euros.
Of course,
So what they say about him is that he can get a goal, but he's also quite a big player. I think he's 6'4", 5", something like that. Strong, quick, eye for a goal, physical. Like I said, pacey. So he seems to have the kind of attributes that would serve him well in the Premier League. Where I'm a little intrigued, if we are going to make a serious move for Sesko, I'm wondering what the rationale behind him coming to Arsenal is. Is he going to be the number one striker, or is it, I guess it's more likely he'll be the number two, the understudy to Havertz then?
Yeah.
Which leads me to suggest that him being number two, he's not quite ready for a club like Arsenal yet to be number one. Would they have been better served trying to go for a more established striker? Isak, for example, who I'm a big fan of. I think you are as well, James.
Yeah, massively so.
However, that will cost a lot more money than Sesko would. And what does the manager do with Havertz then? So,
do you think, and this is it, right? Do you think Arsenal got to a point with the 11, let's say, and maybe not so much the squad, but the 11, where maybe 9 to 10 of the positions and players they're really happy with? Quite difficult to upgrade on a Saliba and a Gabriel and on a Saka and whatever, but there are areas where maybe we could improve, but also the market, it has to be there. You can't just pick up anyone. And Arsenal try to be a little bit more clever, so maybe going, okay, well, maybe below getting in that world-class player who's ready now that might not be available, there are players who we think can become world-class one day, and that's why the likes of João Neves have been linked, the likes of Benjamin Sesko, João Arteta, who maybe don't start for Arsenal in the first 3, 4, 5 months of the season, but grow into it and in the coming years become important players. That could be the way they're thinking about it, because if you sign Alexander Isak, there's a big player being left out somewhere. Now, I don't think that's a bad thing, because Man City won the title on the final day with Jack Grealish on the bench, 100 million. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But at the same time, I think it would be unusual to have a £65 million signing starting up front in the run-in, only to be replaced with another £100 million player. That would feel a bit strange.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why I said I'm intrigued as to the rationale behind the thinking. Yes, clearly this guy's a good player, but is he ready to come straight in, or will he be viewed by the manager as an understudy, a guy that will get games but won't necessarily be the number one striker? Because it's interesting, because with Havertz is he didn't make the best of starts. I think that's fair to say. He improved progressively, and he actually had a good back end to the season. So he got something like, was it 12, 13 goals?
We ended up with 20 goals and assists in the Premier
12
League.
Premier League goals he got. So he definitely got progressively better. And some people, off the back of that, were saying, look, we don't need a striker, which is a view I don't agree with. We definitely need a striker. But like I said, I would have preferred to go all out and throw the checkbook at it and get somebody like Isak. But I don't think the club will go down that route.
But would you be happy if we signed Sesko?
I wouldn't be displeased.
Yeah.
But I've got to be honest and say, I mean, I'm like a lot of fans, you know what I mean? It's you get a bit of recency bias. So you see Isak banging him in, he's looked mercurial for Newcastle, and you're looking at a guy like that, you're thinking he would be perfect for what we need. I don't know that much about Sesko. I've seen bits and pieces. Ever since he's kind of come on the radar, I've tried to do a bit of research. By all accounts, he's a very good young player. So his ceiling is going to be quite high. But we need somebody that's going to get the job done next season. Next season, I can't understate it, James. It's a massive season for not just Arteta, but the club as well. We've got to win something significant. It's got to be a Premier League or a Champions League, or at the very least, one of the domestic cups. And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think second place will do it anymore.
Well,
and I'm not, I'm just being realistic, just going by what the fans say, the conversations I've been in,
and the standards that Arteta sets from himself. So
he himself said that we shouldn't be satisfied.
No, exactly. Absolutely. Well, the business is hopefully going to get going quite soon. But I keep saying to Arsenal fans, I might be completely wrong, I just think expect a slow window. I don't think this will be like this time a year ago, where I think we were starting to hear murmurs the Declan Rice thing we were thinking was going to pick up. We knew about that for months before. Kai Havertz came out of nowhere. Suddenly he was our first signing. Jurriën Timber came out of nowhere. It also means be ready that at any moment news could break, because Arsenal are very good at keeping certain things internal. But yeah, I think this will be a slower window because of the Euros, because of Copa America, because Arsenal, I don't think, are dead set on particular players, but more so particular positions they want to address, and they're going to see how the market moves. I mean, if Alexander Isak, now with Newcastle not being in Europe, which they originally thought they were going to be, does that change the position of Newcastle and their willingness to sell? I don't know. So I think they'll be reactive in some ways.
It might reflect on what the player thinks, because he might be thinking, well, I really need to be playing Champions League football. I need to be at a club that's, going to be in the shake-up for winning things. No disrespect to Newcastle, but I can't see them winning the Premier League anytime soon. They might win a cup, but let's face it, in recent years, they've not really done that. So if you're Isak, you might be thinking, maybe it's time now to gently agitate for a move, because he doesn't seem the kind of guy that's going to go in and slap the transfer request down. But, if there's interest, he might encourage that interest or facilitate it,
Yeah, I mean, all these things that could happen, I think, will dictate Arsenal's position. I even think PSR as well, when we're hearing about points deductions and clubs in trouble for financial reasons, that can also dictate certain things in the market. Look at Everton, could be in more trouble. I think I read a report about that and other clubs. So we will see. Just a couple more quick updates. John Cross has also said that Arsenal are considering Douglas Luiz and Bruno Guimaraes as two midfielders. They do want to add a midfielder, but the move could depend on whether Thomas Partey leaves the club or not. Fabrizio Romano had been saying that Thomas Partey was going to leave. Remains to be seen what happens there. Gary Jacob does also say in his report that Arsenal want to add a defender, a midfielder, a forward and cover on the right wing. So that could be two players to the front line. And Telegraph Football saying that one of the left backs we're looking at is Hartman of Feyenoord as well. So if anything, and also I've got here Yusuf Fofana, according to L'Equipe, has been followed by Arsenal. So quite a lot of players' names starting to come into the headlines, and there are things being talked about. The reports coming out. Arsenal, I think, are undoubtedly looking to be busy in this window. I just don't think we have complete confirmation as to really who that top target is yet, but Sesko is a name that keeps coming. And I think I'm struggling to really see it, but it looks like that is what they're trying to do. So, if reports are talking about it this much, it makes you think that really is maybe the player that they're starting to look at. Let me just ask you a quick yes or no. Benjamin Sesko, do you think we sign him this summer?
Yes.
Wow, you think we do?
I think
Okay.
we do. Yeah, because I think we've seen in recent years, I mean, the Declan Rice is an example whereby the club gets linked with a player and then that speculation grows and grows, and then all of a sudden you start to think, it's going to happen. And last year, of course, with Declan Rice, it did happen. I mean, if we do get Sesko and he turns out to be as successful as Declan Rice did, then that will be a hell of a signing.
Yeah, fair enough. And finally, of these midfield options, Guimaraes, Douglas Luiz, do you have a preferred one? Chucking Zubimendi, Onana, Locatelli, De Jong. There's a few midfielders being thrown around, but if you have a preference.
Guimaraes or Douglas Luiz, I'll take either of those guys.
Yeah,
I think they're both quality. I mean, the others I know less about.
Yeah.
But yeah, listen, we do need strengthening in that era. But then I'm also a fan of Partey. If we can get a fit Partey for most of the season, which is a big if because we know his injury record is not the greatest, I'm not against him staying, to be honest. I really like Partey. So if it meant that we kept Partey and had a bit more to spend in other areas, then I would do that option because me personally, I don't know about you, I think our priority should be a striker.
Fair enough. Let us know your transfer priority in the comments section below. Arsenal wanting to address quite a few position names are starting to come forward. Who would you want Arsenal to sign? Who would you want Arsenal to target? And let us know if you're an expert on Sesko. I'm going to try to do a video on him next week here on AFTV. I want to understand why Arsenal want this player in particular. When people say he's raw, what does that mean? What are the attributes that tell us if he matures right, he could be a world-class player? Because Arsenal clearly are interested, clearly are following him, and at the moment it looks like the leading target for Arsenal once Mikel Arteta signs his new deal. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this video, subscribe to AFTV. We'll be keeping you up to date with everything that happens throughout the transfer window here on the channel, so subscribe.